everyone. I am here for our first Q&A call, and the goal of these calls is really to just answer whatever questions you have for me. So since it's the first few and we're probably still kind of experimenting with what time works best for everybody and all that fun stuff, I did just prepare some questions that I hear a lot. But if at any time you want me to clarify something or literally whatever questions that you have, even if it doesn't have anything to do with design or logos or anything like that, feel free to just put it in the comments and let me know, and I will answer it. Cool? And because it's booze, I have my lager, logos and lager. So I have my Dos Equis, and I'm ready to talk about design stuff. Cool? So if you're here, say hi so I know that you're here. Hi, Megan. Make sure I know that you're here. And like I said a second ago, if you're just hopping on, we're talking about design questions. But if you have any other questions, let me know. And I'm just going to dive into the ones that I already have prepared to talk about. And let me know if you have other ones. Cool? So the question that I get the most often is about design. Obviously, everybody associates branding really closely with design. And that's normal. So I talked a little bit on, what was the last one I did? Monday or Tuesday, I think, about how design should always be the last step. Hey, Tanya. How design should always be the last step in the process. So as long as you're doing that and you're doing everything in the right order, then design should really be the easiest part. Design should be like the very last thing that you do, obviously. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over and over and over again because I really want you to remember it. Design comes last. So after that, though, the design really should be the easiest part. And honestly, I know this might sound crazy. I was actually telling Tanya this morning. When I do design for my clients, for my private clients, and when I do logos and stuff like that, honestly, I only need to make one logo for them because I already know exactly what they want and exactly what they're going to pick. I still usually give them more. Hi. I still usually give them more than one option just to kind of make them feel better, and it scares them to just say, oh, you're only going to get one choice. But in reality, you shouldn't need more than that. And a good designer shouldn't need more than that. Okay, Megan, good question. So design comes last compared to all of the other brand strategy work. So you want to figure out really your why behind your business and what your why behind your business and really what motivates you to do what you do, and putting your personality into your business. So remember, if you took the quiz, I think, Megan, I think you've taken the quiz. You really want to put your personality into your brand so that you can attract your ideal clients. Like, they're going to connect with you on that emotional level if you can just be the real you. So figure out how to do that first, and then figure out who your ideal client is and how to talk to them. So like with your website copy or posts that you're making or anything like that, you want to be able to speak to them in a language that they understand and where they really connect with you. And once you have all of that all of those foundational pieces in place, and you really understand where your brand is now and where you want to be and how to get there, then it's super easy to do the design because you know exactly who you're talking to, you know what they're going to like, and it just becomes a bajillion times easier, whether that means you're doing it yourself or you're hiring a designer to do it. Thanks, Kayla, for the hearts. I love hearts. So if you have specific questions, like I said at the beginning, if you've just come on, go ahead and type them in and I'll answer them. But the ones that I get the most often are, should I try to do it myself? And is it crazy to do your design yourself? And it's totally not. Like, I always tell people to try to do your design yourself first. There's no harm in trying it, right? You're welcome, Megan. So there are tons of free resources and classes and guides, and just search in Pinterest, say logo design, and you'll see some really good ones and some tips for stuff. So I always tell people to try it themselves first, because honestly, no one should know your business better than you do anyway. So I don't know why I keep coughing on these. I'm sorry. Maybe I need my lager for logos and lager. 1 second. But so if you try to DIY it, just make sure you try to understand the basic principles of design, like do look at some kind of guide or something if you don't know what you're doing at all. So basic principles of design, I'll put on my graphic designer hat for a second. Like, white space is your friend. If you never learn anything, drink more beer. I got plenty of beer, Tanya. If you never learn anything else from me, white space is your friend. Like, use lots of white space for everything. Other things to look at are like balance of things and simplicity. Specifically for logos, simplicity is really the key. Like, the worst logos are when people try to cram a whole bunch of crap into one tiny little graphic. Like, your logo should be like a very small representation of just the feel of your brand. It doesn't have to identify every single piece of everything that you do. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. They're like, well, I'm a strategist and I also do this and I also do this. And they want to try to put all these little pieces in there. And that's when it just gets really messy. And most people don't get it. Like, most people don't get what each thing is supposed to represent anyway. So it's better to just keep it simple. Okay, is white space always white, or can it be? Good question, Megan. White space is not always white. That's just the industry term. So it can be any color. Just let it breathe. Might be the better way to say it. Like, make sure there's plenty of space around it. Like, don't cram your logo way over in the corner and like stick it over there up against the edge. And the same thing with, like, if you're making graphics for a Facebook post or something like that, don't put things right against the edge is really what I mean when I say white space. Like, give everything plenty of room to breathe. Cool. So if you are going to DIY it, just make sure and try to do a little bit of research and go with simple. Always go with simple. Yeah, your logo's your initials, Rose. That's awesome. Like, I love the very simple logos. That's just my designs. But honestly, that's really all you need anyway. You don't need anything crazy and huge and elaborate to get your point across. Cool. So, but if you don't want to DIY it, which you might not because it takes a bunch of time and maybe that's just not your thing. Oh wait, what's Tanya say? Is important for book covers. For sure. Like, yeah, any kind of design, like book covers or Facebook posts or website graphics or even just like the copy on the website. Let everything breathe. Like, if you look at my homepage, there's tons of space in between like every line of what I'm saying, and it's there on purpose. Like, not only does it just look nicer and it looks clean, but it serves a purpose to like guide your reader's eye where you want to go. Like, you know exactly what you're supposed to do next, and you can really emphasize the points that you're trying to emphasize. And like design, I think a lot of times people just say, oh, design is making it look pretty. And it is, but it's so much more than that if you do it the right way. Like, you use the design to get people to do what you want to do, whatever you want them to do. Guide them where they need to be. So do that. Always try to do that. But if you don't want to do it yourself, can we use the colors from our archetype in the logo? Heck yes, that's what the archetype guide is for. So in the PDF downloads, there are like color palette examples. That does not mean you can only use those colors for those archetypes, obviously. They're just good examples to kind of give you a starting point. But also check out the Pinterest board for your archetype, because there are bajillions of examples on every single archetype Pinterest board on my Pinterest. I know there are a couple other brand strategists that also use archetypes, and they have some good Pinterest boards too. So maybe just do a Pinterest search for that, and you can find really good ideas for finding colors that really feel like what you're trying to go for. So if you do hire someone, though, there are a few things that you should look for when you are hiring a graphic designer. So the very first thing, again, I'm going to keep saying this over and over again. If you go to hire a graphic designer and you're looking at somebody to do the work for you, if the very first thing out of their mouth is not, okay, who's your ideal client? What are you trying to accomplish with your logo? Then go somewhere else. If that's not the first thing they say, then go somewhere else. Because again, that's the only way you're going to be able to use your logo to represent your brand, instead of just having a pretty little graphic that doesn't do anything for you. So As long as they ask those questions, then some other things you want to think about. Oh, thank you, Dorothy. Totally didn't use my archetype colors because of reasons. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you are using a color that's not like on your archetype guide or that's not usually there. As long as you're capturing the feel and your personality and the feel that you want to go for. So those are really just like a starting point to give you ideas of what other people do with that particular archetype. Yeah, Dorothy. So what you should look for in the designer then, sorry, I've started this sentence like 10 times now. Some of the things are like, what types of things are included in your package besides a logo? Like, you need a logo, obviously, but what types of files are they actually going to give you? So always ask for the source files of everything. So what that means is it's an Illustrator file, hopefully, if they're a real designer, or you might have heard it, a vector file or an EPS file. That means that you can take it and you can blow it up as big as you want, and it's not going to get pixelated and ugly and gross. So you need one of those. Also make sure that you get a ping file, which that means it has a transparent background so that you can put it on things with a different colored background, obviously, because if you have a JPEG or a file like that, it's going to have that white background. And I know that's a problem for a lot of people to try to cut out their logos and cut out pictures and stuff like that. If you don't have Photoshop, that's obviously kind of hard. So make sure you're getting the right type of files like that. And if you have any questions about like which file you should use for which thing, just type it in the comments and let me know. But you want those, and then kind of what else is included in your package. Like make sure that the designer that you're getting, I guess, is targeted for whatever you're going to use your brand to do. So like you can just go find any graphic designer on Fiverr or whatever, any of those sites, and pay, $10 even. You can get a logo for $10, but make sure it's set up in a way that you can actually use it. And it will work better though if you find a designer that knows how to work within your industry. So like if you're an online entrepreneur like me, you'll need your logo. You'll also need like social media cover images, like with the graphics that match, and you'll want like a template for social media posts. And make sure you find out also like what format are you going to get those templates in. Like if they give you an Instagram template, is it going to be a Photoshop file that you can't use, or is it going to be in Canva, or is it going to be like a Word template or something like that? Just make sure you know that you'll be able to actually use it. Okay, what does Tanya say? But if they give an Illustrator file, yeah, you can't. You can't use an Illustrator file if you don't have Illustrator. You can't edit it. So I know that there are settings, and you have a Mac, right? We've talked about that. So like there are settings in Word and Excel and stuff like that where you can import EPS files into there. It's like a box that you have to check just so you can be sure that it's never grainy or tiny or anything like that. Another one to ask for though is a PDF. Like ask for a high-res unflattened PDF file of your logo, because that will also scale and be as big as you want, and they're easier to work with if you don't have design software. But then like I'd say the most common one you need to make sure that you have if you're not a designer and you don't actually need to edit them is make sure you get that ping file with the transparent background, because that's the one you're going to want the most often. It's really hard to use a JPEG in any kind of design stuff that you're making, because unless you have a white background on literally everything, it's not going to help you very much. So get that ping file. And again, just make sure you get all of the pieces that you need. Like make a list and think through every single thing that you would actually need. When I do this stuff for my clients, it's all the social media covers, all of the templates, a banner to go in your email newsletter, and your actual email signature at the bottom, like with your logo and everything like that. What else is in there? I include business cards in a design package, or like a thank you note or something like that, some kind of printed something. So just kind of think through all of that before you start looking, and try to find a designer that fits all those requirements for you. So what else is next? how much should it cost? Obviously, I hear that one all the time. And honestly, you can pay any amount of money you want for a logo. Like, you can go on Fiverr and, you know, pay $10, $5. It's Fiverr. When I used to do just logos, I charged $2,000 was the base price for a logo. Now I kind of put everything in a package, but I've seen, like, when I was in school, in design school, one of my professors did freelance design for, like, bigger agencies, and the minimum price he charged for a logo was $8,000. So you can pay whatever you want. I will say, though, you want to find kind of the middle ground, and it's more important to focus on what the deliverables are when you're making that decision. So you can't obviously compare a $5 logo to something where you're getting every single piece of the design that you need. So make sure and compare accordingly. And also remember, you get what you pay for. So design it. I say everybody. There are so many people on the internet, and that, like, especially VAs who say that they're graphic designers. And at the risk of sounding like a snotty brat, like, they're not designers. Just because you know how to open design software and you paid for a subscription to Photoshop does not make you a designer. So just keep that in mind too, because that's what a lot of those cheap ways to get logos, that's what they are, is just crap usually. So just be careful. That obviously there are exceptions. I've heard of people getting really good design work done on Fiverr. And remember, the more prepared you are before you go talk to a designer, the better luck you're going to have. So if you know exactly what you want and you can articulate, you know, this is what I'm going for, this is the type of people I work with, this is the message that I need my logo to send, you're going to get a lot better results than if you try to just say, well, I don't really know what I want, but I'll know it when I see it. Can you just give me like 15 options? Because one, you're not going to get what you like, and also the designer is going to hate you. Yes, Dorothy, students are self-taught. Yeah, you might, well, and I would say if you're going to go the cheap route, you might have better luck, like, looking for a student, because at least they're learning the right way to do it. Like, maybe go to a local, Dorothy went to graphic design school with me, so maybe go to, like, a local school that has a good graphic design program and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Would you be interested in doing this and putting it in your portfolio? That's a good way to get a cheaper version of a logo if you're on a budget without, you know, sacrificing quality that you're most likely going to lose if you go online and just pick a random person. So, and just remember, look for the balance. Like, for most, like, service-based businesses, you don't need some huge elaborate logo package. And like I said, I include it in my package right now. It's $10,000 for the 4-month brand strategy, and then you also get all the design. The design is just like, that's not really what it's about, but it's easy for me and it's fun for me, so I just throw it in too. But there's a good middle ground in there. But just make sure you're finding the right person, and you want to check their portfolio too. So once you know what your archetype is, then you'll want to go and look at their portfolio and make sure that they can do the type of work that you need. Like, make sure it's the right style and it kind of lines up, because most designers are very set in their style and they don't deviate from it a lot. So just make sure you look at that stuff first. Don't just pick them because they're awesome and then you find out that they can't design girly things or manly things or whatever it is. So just do your homework is really the bottom line when you're picking a designer. So that was on my list of common design questions. Does anyone else have any questions? Seems logical. Yeah, that's true. I mean, obviously, if you can afford it and if you're in the place where you can hire a brand strategist that also does the design, like me, obviously that's the most logical solution, because you're the number one person who understands your brand more than anyone. But then your brand strategist is right behind you, the next one up there, and they have the skill to do it usually. So if you can go that route, go that route. if you can't and you're looking for other alternatives, I would suggest a student. It would be my number one suggestion. And if it's not a student, then research the crap out of them and make sure they can actually give you what you need for the price point you're looking for. Cool? What else we got? I know there's like a delay too, so I'm like 10 seconds ahead of everyone, I think. So I'll give it a second. Make sure there's not any more questions. So I hope this is helpful. Tanya gave me the idea to do the themes for the Q&A calls, and I think that'll help everybody. You know, you can come up with an actual question and not just leaving you out in the wind to think of something random. But so that being said, if you have any ideas for the future Q&A calls of specific topics you want to talk about and have questions answered about, like, you know, website design and like what should you put on your website, or even things like how to, you know, how to articulate your message, or more about the brand archetypes or anything like that, make sure and let me know, because I can set up whatever we need to set up, whatever you want to hear about. Okay, what do we got over here? Wine and websites. Hey, yeah, if it's an alliteration, I'm all about it too. I was trying to think of like booze that would associate with different topics, and I ran out of alcohol before I ran out of topics, so help me with that too. So students will be a little longer turnaround. That's true too. Yeah, so that's a good point, Dorothy, that I haven't talked about. Like, how long should this whole process take and what's the turnaround time? So obviously it's going to depend on, you know, which specific pieces you're getting. So if it's just a logo, yay, Heather, thanks for the hearts. If it's just a logo, again, it really comes into you get what you pay for. Like, I like the golden triangle or something that people say online. There's quality, speed, and price, and you can only pick two. You can't have all three. So it really is going to come down to picking which of those things is the most important for you and your brand. And with a student, Dorothy's right, you'll get good quality and you'll get good price, but it probably will take a little bit longer, but you'll have better results in the end. So it's just weighing what's more important for you. Manhattans in marketing. Hey, Heather. So we're talking about graphic design stuff, and specifically like questions around designing and logo work and how to pick a designer and how to hire a designer. So if you have any questions there for anyone else that came in late, just pop them in the box and let me know. And it's also booze. I wish I could see you guys, and like hopefully everybody else has booze too, and I'm not the only one just drinking, staring at myself in the computer. Cool. But yeah, so that would be my number one recommendation, though, if you are trying to find a designer for cheap, is to find a student and make sure you allow for the amount of time that it's going to take. I did hiccup, yes. How often should my logo be updated, if at all? Ideally, you won't need to update your logo, and that's where it comes in too. If you get it right the first time, you shouldn't need to update it. And if you keep it, you know, like we said at the very beginning of the call, like keep it simple, first of all. And then if you're designing the right way in terms of what your brand goals and your strategies are, you shouldn't need to change it. Now, if you change your entire brand strategy and you decide to like target a completely different person and offer something different, then you might need to change it. But I would suggest not doing that. Like if you want to do something completely different, start a different business. Like don't change whatever you're trying to do and morph it into something else, because it's just going to confuse your audience a little bit. That doesn't mean that you can't have separate businesses that target different people though, or somehow differentiate which people you're talking to. But hopefully you shouldn't have to update your logo. Cool. So if you can hire a brand strategist that knows how to do the design, that's your best bet. If you can't do that, find a student. That's the takeaways that I wanted to talk about today. Cool? give it just a couple more minutes. Make sure there's no more questions. Oh, look, guys, I got so many thumbs up and hearts. I'm so excited. How fun. Thanks, Heather. Cool. Okay. Well, if no one else has any more questions, then I'm going to hop off of here. Just a couple quick reminders. I'll say it again. If you have ideas for other Q&A calls, like other topics, let me know. Maybe if it has an alliteration, I'll like you a little bit more. Just kidding. I already like you. But give me ideas for that. And then also, you guys probably saw all the events that I put in the group. The Spotlight Sundays are coming up, so hopefully you can come to the Spotlight Sundays because they're going to be really freaking awesome. We already have a lot of people signed up, and I'm so excited to see them. And then, what else? Oh, then the Spotlight Sunday with Rose. I don't know if Rose is on here today, but she is a copywriter, and she is offered to use her Spotlight Sunday time to review somebody's copy or more than one somebody. So if you have any kind of copy that you want a professional, awesome, badass copywriter to look at live on our call, there's over in the document section, there's a document and just copy and paste in whatever you want Rose to look at and we'll go over it live. And it's going to be so freaking awesome. So can't wait for Spotlight Sunday. Me too. I'm so excited for Spotlight Sunday. So that's all of my announcements. And I'm going to hop off of here and go finish my beer. And I will see you guys, when's the next Sunday is the next live call. So I will see you then. If anybody has any questions in between now and then, use the group, guys. Like, I still have not seen a single promo video, and I really want to see promo videos from people. Just remember, there's a separate, in the description, watch the little rules. You got to make a video, and it's going to be so awesome, though. So I better see a video from someone soon, or it's going to get crazy. All right. You guys have a good night. Bye.